Oh my goodness. Did we finally do it? Did we finally figure it out?
I think so.
Y'all, it's a Tuesday on a Thursday, and we're doing our best here. This is a Mercury in retrograde for sure. And I guess it goes into two retrogrades, right? Tuesday I had a whole garage door kerfuffle. And thankfully, Josh was like, I'll come on Thursday because you're special, which gave me pressure, but also the happy feelings. We're like, we're going to do this. And then guess what? My computer does not turn on today.
I love that.
Worked all day. And then here we are, not even turning on, which is sweet. So you could hear dingings in the background of the husband being like, do these things. I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to be on an iPad in the patio.
Right.
So we're going to try this. Hello, good people. Thank you for coming. I hope everyone can hear me because I think one time I did these headphones and I think it was just when I was only using the Facebook Live app before they updated everything. And who would have known that there's no sound that way, right? So weird. So I'm gonna, if someone is watching and they'd like to comment because they don't hear anything, that would be awesome. Although so far nobody has, which is a good sign. Anyways, welcome. Yay. It's a Tuesday, Thursday. And I have the fabulous dad bod Dom. Well, the dad of Josh. This is Josh as I call you, but I'm trying to use your social tags better. And somehow we convinced him to try and come like maybe monthly where it can work because as I've kind of delved into the world of condoms, and that's a fun story. I realized I don't have a sexual education degree, but apparently this job needs one. So I'm working on one, but I have fabulous friends I could kind of pull some of the health assets from. And like, hi, if y'all don't know Josh, I'm gonna give him a minute to do the things, but he absolutely knows what's going on. And one of the things in me kind of transitioning from only lube to condoms and lube and whatever else in between in this beautiful show we've made that I call Tuesday Tori, which is evolving into a platform that I wanted it to be for everybody here in the adult retail B2B space, including my selfish agenda, which was as I started learning more about condoms, I learned a lot more of the misinformation or some of the social reasons why people maybe have a bias or stigmatism against using them. And then additionally, I realized there's kind of an epidemic starting right now that's not being talked about in STI and STI prevention. So thankfully, again, I'll give you a minute to do the introduction. I've convinced Josh to come here so we can kind of have an open conversation. Not that you guys are, hey, we're keeping this in like a business side, right? So this isn't we're all here for whatever culture you're about, but we also wanted to make sure you're armed because you're kind of the front force. You're our army. Welcome to Team Tori. Dadbomb.com, where we're like, hey, I didn't know, and I'd been in this industry for almost 8 years before I started kind of diving into these things. I'm sure a lot of your customers coming in and out, or maybe you don't even know, can just help make sure the information's out there so people can make the choices for that. That being said, hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. And I'm going to give Josh a minute because I have to remember there's like new people coming to this industry every day. I assume they all know everything, but the show is here to, if you don't know, you don't know. So Josh, take it away, my friend.
I'm just some douchebag.
But you're my douchebag.
I am your douchebag.
Because you're sweet enough to rearrange for me. Thank you.
Listen, I'm in a Marriott lurking somewhere near somebody. So I am happy to do that. Like, what a wonderful generic backdrop. I don't even need a green screen.
No, you don't need a green screen, right? And I'm just sitting by a plant. It's fabulous. Why not? Who knows?
Fantastic.
Right.
So before we actually came on, I was like, I had dildos charging back here. And I was
that
like,
would have been appropriate.
No. Sorry.
No.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, I'm Josh, and I'm a brand ambassador and the sex educator for XR Brands. I am one of 2 trans masculine executives on our side of the industry. There's me and Buck Angel. My focus is generally education based. So my focus when it comes to our retail partners is to make sure we're not just training you on like this has 24 functions, but we're educating you so you can become community resources and make conversations around taboo subjects like STI not taboo.
I am so stealing that, a community resource. That might be going in my my sales pitch where I try not to guilt people into selling more condoms and dams, but then I accidentally do.
No, but they really should though. They really should.
Right. Here's to digress really quickly, totally nothing to do with sexual health and wellness, but all about making money with the condoms. So far, no one has proved me wrong. And I actually had, I need to hook up with Brandy later because she was going to try it. But every time I tell somebody, like, it makes no sense, but you just need to literally do the and fries with that with condoms. And I hate to say it, especially if you are a female presenting person behind the counter and a male presenting person is coming to the counter. It's almost like they don't want to ask you about them if they were coming in for them. Because
Right.
again, stigma, shame, whatever bias you might not even know is implanted socially in your head. But the minute the femme presenting person behind the counter says, "Oh, and condoms with that," it's like they are always saying yes. Like everybody's UPT has gone up. It's just kind of like you need to remember to add to that basket size, right? So there's your sales tip for the day. That helps with quick turns if you're not doing that. And this could turn into a whole, I'll make a script someday, but nothing to do with what I actually wanted to talk about today. But hey, Josh, maybe you can steal that too, as I steal community resources, right? If people are like, well, how do I make more money? Be like,
So
look at this dong. It also needs cleaner and lubes, and you should be using condoms with it too, because you're going to go do something sexually active, whether with this or a different member in your repertoire. So
right.
be safe.
Agreed. Agreed.
So that being said, I'm like on my mobile iPad, guys. So if I miss a comment or something, I apologize. Just keep reaching out. And if you need me or Josh for anything, that's the point of the fun stream, right? We'll hook everybody up. So cool. Kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about, which if you caught the attempt of this launch a few months ago, it might be a little bit repetitive, but also, you know, sometimes when I go back and read something or even discuss something, I get something different. But right, I'm still real concerned with the amount of, like, again, the syphilis epidemic, I'm just going to call it, even though it hasn't been that way, it keeps growing and growing. And even I'm in California right now, and I was talking to just like a nurse, and they were like, well, yeah, people don't know about the syphilis. And I'm like, okay, so at least it's starting to get out in some of the medical things. And you know, I'm not the crystal ball person. I don't decide what we talk about socially, right? But I did want to comment that I really feel like there's this mist, this you know, fake facade of safety that's out there. I don't know about you, but I grew up with all the condom commercials of, you know,
Right.
the 90s of the AIDS and the HIV. So it was
Right.
just already something I knew about, whether I knew what I needed to know really to be confident in it. But I'm kind of like, we had that, and that was like in our lifetime. I'm not that old yet, right?
As a
Um,
child of the 80s, I was growing up during the, HIV and AIDS epidemic. During, like, the Reagan presidency and all those really fun times for queer folk. And what it really comes down to is you have to know. There has to be open dialogue, open communication. There has to be, there was such an epidemic, there was such a spread of HIV, not just in gay communities, okay? Because we know, as a queer person, as a trans person, I'm here to tell you that straight men call my phone every minute of every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, there, so it was
it just
spreading
is
not
what it is. We're
just,
seeing people
right,
for
it
who
was
they are,
spreading not
right?
just in the gay community, it was spreading across in straight communities, it was spreading across into heterosexual monogamous marriages where wives were ending up HIV positive. Um, I think we're
Well, it's just like
lulled
any
into.
germ. Once someone gets it, anybody else can get it, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we've been lulled into a pretty false sense of security, um, with
Right?
things
Like,
like the PrEP,
I
right?
was going to say, do you mind the first kind of topic I wanted to talk about was like the decline in condom usage, or, you know, damn, oral barrier usage, because we have antibiotics and specifically PrEP, which I'm so happy exists. But right, let's discuss, people. Is it from what I've researched, I don't know what the long-term effects are of using it monthly and all the things, you know, does the juice is the juice worth the squeeze when you're not sure your partner is HIV positive, right? Like, I was under the impression that, like, if you did know you were at risk, you know, obviously taking PrEP, you know, is outrunning the risk when you know that your partner has HIV. But just in case, I don't know what's
right,
and I'm not a person that is using PrEP, so that's why I'm like, hey, tell me about it, people. Like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What is
right.
going on?
When PrEP first came out, so PrEP, for anyone that doesn't know, stands for pre-exposure prophylactic. PrEP, when it first came out, was specifically not for people assigned female at birth. It was in the very first commercials. If you were assigned female at birth, don't take it. Now there's been some research done that shows that there are some
It's important.
pre-exposure prophylactics, right? There's Truvada, which is a pill, and then Apoquil, excuse me, Apertude.
I'm like, Apoquel.
No, that's for my dog. I had to make an appointment. Apertude, which is an injection. Um, those are the only two
The joke in the band.
that are FDA approved for people assigned female at birth, the people having vaginal penetration. So even though there are these pre-exposure things, right? If we're just focusing on one disease, and that's what these are doing. These pre-exposure prophylactics are stopping the exposure to HIV. And that's awesome, but there are like 25 STIs. So to make sure that you're not getting exposed to other things, it's important to realize that PrEP isn't the end all be all. Now, if you are engaging with somebody that has HIV or is HIV positive, if you're enjoying Grinder or Tinder and you're having anonymous sex, you're having hookup sex, you're having unprotected sex, like PrEP is so awesome, and please keep taking it.
Yeah,
But
like
also,
this is not a
right.
PSA of like
No, no,
don't use
please
it.
keep taking it because HIV and AIDS is a killer, right? So we want to make sure we're not passing that on. But we also want to protect ourselves from the other things. We want to protect ourselves from syphilis, from gonorrhea, from herpes simplex or herpes complex, from genital warts. We want to protect ourselves from crabs and pubic lice and things that can still come if you're not using anything other than a pill.
Well, right, and even though those sound scary, and I dropped the syphilis and the HIV bomb first. Yes, those are a bit more treatable or very treatable. It's not the end of your life. Absolutely, this is not here to shame you for doing your stuff. This is to empower you that like, hi, I don't have time to be sick. Like we just survived a pandemic. Maybe we don't need to take all the medication and all the antibiotics because I'm assuming it's a lot more expensive than $4.99 pack of 3 condoms.
Right. So my thing is, as someone that was previously in the medical field before I transitioned,
Which is amazing stories that come out of him. This is like really, I was like, hey, we'll make it a work thing, but really,
I'm
I
here
just want to hear
for
your
it.
stories.
I'm here for it. When it comes to the HIV or the syphilis or really any STI, truth be told, the majority of STIs are not symptomatic. You don't know you have them. If you end up with vaginal discharge, urethral discharge, sores or warts on your genitals or bleeding or those type of things, right? Those are the obvious things where you know, like, oh shit, something's
Yeah,
not right.
something not right.
But 90% of the time, these STIs do not show any symptoms. So you may not even know that you're out spreading or that you're a carrier or that you've been infected by a previous partner yourself.
Well, and I know from my side of the whatever you want, my side of the desk, antibiotics and all the other things. It's hard enough to advocate for your health as like me, a woman being born at birth and like trying to get my hormones because I'm under 40, and like there's still we've inherited the world that we've inherited, right? So whether people mean to do it or not, there's a lot of shame out there, but like now add the added complexity of right, how many times have you gone into the doctor, anybody, right? I know this has happened to me where it's like, oh my god, I have like a headache, or I just don't feel like, my big thing is like when I go work out, I'm like I can't get up to the new thing, like what's going on, and everyone's just like, oh, it's stress or it's hormones, right? It's really easy for you, even if you're somebody very in tune with your body, to be completely misdiagnosed. It is not the first thing that people are like, well, we'll do a blood test, right? They're checking for the big C and stuff, but they're not checking for STIs.
No, one of the most common physical symptoms, if there are any at all, aside from the ones I listed, right, the more scary ones, One of the most common is actually just lower abdominal pain, aka cramps. And as someone who was assigned female at birth, when you go to a gynecologist and you tell them you have bad cramps, they're like, well, that's weird. You should probably lose 20 pounds and take birth control. Right?
Oh,
So,
and your back hurts too. Make that
right.
30. We'll look at
Exactly.
that BMI.
Exactly. So that's a symptom, right? So
Yeah.
folks are not being treated properly if they are hyper vigilant about their body. But how many times now I haven't menstruated in a long time, thank God. But how when it comes to your periods and it comes to cramps, how often would you even dismiss like a rough month? Like how often would you just be like, man, this month is fucking killing me because your back's knocked out or you're cramping like crazy. You are just you're conditioned
Or even
to do
someone like
it.
me, I'm not diagnosed PCOS, but monthly I can feel the cysts. They're all benign and they're just part of the process. But
Right.
sometimes it's more painful than others.
Right.
And what
And those
happens? I got an
sometimes you just
ultrasound and
think
they were
like,
like, bye bye.
right, exactly. So when it happens, right, and you have those months where some are more painful, for someone that has an STI, if that's actually a symptom, they're like, you know what? I just my period. It's just these fibroids, these cysts, it's my hormones, it's whatever,
It's just
without
my stress.
actually
It's my
realizing.
children. I'm not sleeping good.
Right.
It's work, right? My favorite one is like, oh, well, just work on your stress. Have you
Okay.
have you seen not just the economy but everything
Right.
else that's happening right now? So
Right.
cool, right? I'll just
Yes.
remove my stress and you'll give me money to eat. That sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. We'll get right on that in this
Okay, done.
dystopian
And I'll
hellscape.
sit here by the plant with Josh and we'll look beautiful.
I love it.
Josh for president. Okay,
I love you so.
so little bit of a random tangent there, but I just love the stories. I was going to say I did. We'll just do one more story tangent. When I went to a medical conference in Boston about this time last year, it was a little bit different because it's all for nonprofit. So instead of like our trade shows where it's like just a big selling booth thing, it was like everybody had to go and get like take these specific classes to keep whatever certification, and then the trade show part was kind of staggered out in different things. So of course, I'm
Nice.
already there. What am I going to do in Boston? I'm going to go to some of these conferences because I'm trying to learn, right? And they were talking about a case study, and I'm going to call this person a kid because he was about 22, 23 maybe. And poor thing did not know that he had a foreskin. So was not aware that he needed to pull the extra skin back and then apply the condom. So of course, every single condom he tried hurt. So he was like, I literally am the person that like I don't get it, and like whatever lack of resources he was dealing with at the time, um, he ended up with 2 STIs because he just kept going to the doctor and taking another antibiotic and feeling okay, but not feeling all right. And one, by the time everything was all said and done, he's dealing with an autoimmune disease,
Right.
right? Like at
Right.
23. And like, so my heart just melted for this kid. I was like, oh my God, like, I wish I could have like, not that I can change the world, but I would have been like, here, try these ones. They got more room in the head or all the stuff.
Right.
Right? But it's
There's
not,
there's such a
not,
lack
it's not a
in
girlfriend talk thing or a boyfriend talk thing.
education. No, there's
Yeah.
not. That there's not a lot of education out there for uncut guys, for hey my boo, for folks of varying genitals, for intersex folks, for trans folk, or for folk that were assigned differently than they currently present. There's really not much out there, but there is a lot of cis male misinformation. And one of the biggest things is like, well, I just can't feel it. I just can't feel it. So here, I'm
No,
the
please,
sickest
like, give it
double
to me. This is
agent.
going to be good. Because then I got
I am
another
the
good, interesting one.
sickest
Yeah.
double agent. Okay, I will tell you all their secrets. Excuse me, I will tell them
Perfect.
you all, but I will never tell them yours. Okay, so I can't feel it. I can't. I'm gonna call bullshit, and this is why. I was cutting peppers a week and a half ago, and I cut a good chunk of the tip of my finger off. Right here, I got a band-aid on it.
Ouchie. Aw, baby.
That little bag of finger condoms, okay? Because I don't like
Available at
wet
Paradise Marketing
band-aids.
if you need them.
There you go. I don't like wet band-aids. They fucking disgust me because now they're no longer doing the thing. So when I am taking a quick shower, I don't want my finger meat to be just flopping around. So I'll put on little finger condom,
I had
right?
no idea this was happening today. This is fabulous.
No, this is legit. Like I have 100 with me because I'm nuts. So and I assure you, my fingertip is half very sensitive, half desensitized because I cut it off. But this has no effect on what my finger feels.
Hmm.
None. So like I can feel my facial hair. I can feel everything with the finger condom on. Yep, I can feel that.
Yeah, you're like the
So
temperature is different. I can see that. So
right. So
I would assume penis tissue would maybe be a little more sensitive. I would think.
bingo.
Hmm.
So if my weird finger is something that can feel everything in a finger condom, I know your dick can feel it in a regular condom. I know it can because this finger condom's thicker than a regular condom in the first place.
So it's kind of just like an excuse we've all bought into. And I
Yeah.
know one of the last stats I saw was 62% of females under 25 have never purchased a condom.
Mhm.
Because, right,
Yeah.
they don't want to be slut shamed. They don't know what they're doing. They assume
I
it's the
don't
penis
like
owner's
how it
job.
feels. I don't like how it feels. You can't. It's not anything you can truly.
Well,
Okay.
and unfortunately, it seems like, and I'm not there, so correct me if I'm wrong,
Right.
but it seems like a lot of the Grinder, Tinder, dating community, hookup community is very performative right now. There's not a lot of let me lean in and have a real conversation about safety or tell you what my boundaries are because maybe I don't even know that I need to have them and you're
Right.
looking for love. And, we've all been 20 trying to think that, like, oh, I could change him or her, right? So,
Yeah.
like, again, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more accessible for everybody. If we have to do it by scaring you um, about the next point here that people forget, which STIs are not just transmitted, with sexual fluids or blood. We can get them orally too.
Sure can. You sure can.
Yeah, and then
And
what just
not
came out?
just in your mouth, in your
No.
throat, in your
Yes.
esophagus. It can affect your stomach if you bring things down.
Yeah,
So
you get
they
germies in places. They're just going to be like atake.
right. Honestly, when it comes down to especially oral stuff and oral barriers, one of the things I hear the most is, but it's not sexy to stop giving head and put on a condom. So when I hear that, I'll open a condom. I'm just going to use a finger one, okay? I'll open a condom. Sure, it can be sexy.
Yeah, how is that not sexy? Just don't
It
use your
sure can
teeth,
be sexy.
people. Okay,
You're right.
don't use your teeth.
It
Which
sure can be sexy. You could
absolutely.
100% slam a condom down with your mouth without having to be like, hang on, let me roll this down. You can put the little tip where the cum goes in your mouth and then the whole thing down. The whole thing down. It can be sexy.
It
They
can be
can be,
sexy,
they
right?
can
And
be
like,
flavored, right? And it's not just the condom that's flavored. The 18,000 lubricants our colleagues and friends make that are delish.
yeah, by the way, flavored lubes and condoms are still registered as that medical device, the lube and the condom. So
Mm.
there's no sugars that's going to give you yeast
Yeasty
infections or
beasties.
anything like that, people. Like, I know that's always something that, like, I had no idea was perceived that way. I was like, no, no, no. They're specifically flavored without those things. Otherwise, we couldn't
Right.
sell it that way.
People
You you you
are they've
got you
kind of
got fans. Look at this.
oh my god,
Jokes,
thanks
best
Maxine.
tips.
People that are kind of turning a bit away from dental dams, they feel like they're a little clinical, but and also I've heard that well you can't feel anything, and again well they are very 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 thin latex, so
But
all you
also, if
do
it feels
just hold it.
different, is that I feel like we have a store full of vibes and shapes to be different. Wouldn't that be like
Right.
a good thing? I don't know.
Right, right. I personally would rather have to take out a piece of latex and apply it to somebody's body, my body, whatever it is, and have a great sexual time, and then continue the rest of my life without pissing fire, or without, a mouthful of sores because I didn't think it was sexy in the moment.
Well,
We
right.
have to
What do they
think past
say?
the moment.
If you don't have your health, you don't really have anything.
Right.
So I know we're very impulsive and we need instant gratification, and the more things get easier, the more things are getting harder. I get that, but it's still your health, and we got to advocate for it, right?
You have to
Like,
advocate and you have to talk about it. Like
yes.
with new partners. So I can tell you certain apps that are gay focused, things like Grinder, in your little bio, it can ask your prep status. If you take prep, if you're not on prep, that's kind of a new thing added into some of
That's
the gay
interesting.
centric apps like Scruff and Grinder. When it comes to apps that are more um, co-ed, that's not really a thing that's mentioned, and we kind of feel weird asking like, hey, what's your status? But I say, why do we feel weird about it, right? Because that person is going to put their body in your body, or you're putting your body in their body. You
Yeah.
don't
When
know
did
that.
we not just disrespect ourselves, but then
Right.
somebody else, right?
There's
Like,
absolutely no stigma in saying what's your status, because honestly, if a partner says I'm HIV positive, that's not a deal breaker, because we have PrEP and condoms. If you tell me I have herpes,
yeah, I was
not
gonna
a
say, or
deal
even
breaker.
herpes. Like, I know a
Not a
lot of
deal
people,
breaker.
not a deal breaker. A lot of
Condoms,
people,
dental
there's,
dams will still fuck, but it's important that you know what it is you're fucking and how it's going to affect you later.
yeah,
It's not about being a deal breaker. There's a lot of stigma around having herpes, which is something that shatters my soul in a million pieces. Folks,
agreed.
that is a lot of time one of their biggest secrets, is that, they're positive for herpes. They don't know when they got it or how they got it. They don't know who
Most
they've
people
been with.
don't. And sometimes they
Right.
don't even know they have it.
And honestly, it is the most there's so many different variations of herpes, ones that aren't even sexual. Like when you get a regular fever blister, that's a herpes virus.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
a matter of being dirty or being shameful or being a whore, because I'm a whore. It's not a matter of any of those things. It's a matter of taking control,
But you are
taking
poor. Just kidding.
I thank you so much. Taking control of not only your autonomy, but respecting the autonomy of who you're fucking. If you're willing to fuck them, then you should be willing to give a half a shit, right?
Right? Like, and then I can get real. This is where I get maybe a little bit preachy or guilting, right? And now not only are we not thinking about ourselves or our partner, something like syphilis does your baby can end up getting it, right? So when you go and
Herpes as
check,
well.
yeah, right. When you go and check me, right, go look on the CDC and be like, man, I don't think Tori and Josh are talking about syphilis and herpes. Like, it's the end of the world, whatever. Let's go look. Your eyeballs will go like this because you'll see something that's over 100%. You're going to be like, how do I have 150%, 156% increase, right? Like, that makes no sense. They're including congenital syphilis because people don't
Right.
know that they have it. And like, this is happening right now, guys. Like,
Right. The way it happens, the way your baby gets it. 'Cause folks like, no, my baby's not going to get it. If your kid blinks on the way out of your vagina, if you have a vaginal birth, if you have vaginal delivery and you have syphilis or you have some version of herpes, if you are in the middle, especially of some type of a herpes flare, or if you know how they tell you to not shave your coot coot before you give birth anyway, if you do shave your coot coot and you have a little cut and you have a little blood open, right? Obviously, your whole vagina is going to split in half and explode. There's going to be blood. If that baby on the way out blinks, if they maybe open their mouth, what do you think they're sucking out of
which
their little
which
nose?
in case people didn't know, I've had two children vaginally, and it doesn't just like come out in 2 seconds where nobody's blinking or moving their mouth. Okay,
Right.
it's traumatic
And
for
they
everybody.
drain shit out of a baby's face. When it comes out of your vagina, they pull what looks like a friggin' enema bulb out and shove it in every hole in their head they
Oh, and
got.
then they send it home with you because, right,
Right.
there could still be more fluids in their lung and they're going to choke to
Right.
death, and that's not scary.
And those fluids are the fluids that are coming, not just that house them, but that help them on their journey through the vagina, including blood, including those things where it can transmit. And it's not about shaming folks into saying, like, you can't even have kids. You
No,
absolutely
it's
can.
right. We
But
want you to
as
have the
long as you
information.
know, right? If you
Yeah.
know, you can maybe plan for a C-section. You could maybe have a doula and plan for a more natural birth where you do natural stretching and get your vagina in a place where it's not as likely to tear in a million pieces. So
But
there's
the point of it is that we
options.
want you to have all the information to be prepared, right? I don't know about you, but the moment, and like I grew up on the sales floor, right? So I've had to sell things that maybe was not something that is not a kink of mine, whatever, right? You don't need a personal testimony. No, do I think you need to? That gets like weird on the floor. That's another conversation. But right in sales, you're right there, and you get very dropping things. How do I want to say this? It'll come to me in a minute. We'll keep going on. But like I remember it being, if I didn't know about the product without using it, if someone kind of didn't give me a testimony or a written script, or I didn't get a chance to hear anything about it, and this is to this day, like I have anxiety. I am very nervous about things I don't know.
Right.
So obviously, if you don't know anything about condoms or how to buy them, and then you walk into Walmart and you see just one brand of like Trojan everywhere and like one skin, and that's great. They're amazing condoms, but they're not the only ones, right? You could not pick something that's great for you.
Right. I was actually in a Marriott because I'm in a different place than my home. So I went down to get a frap from the market in the one I was in a couple of nights ago, and they had condoms in their little market, but every single one they had was Magnum. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a Negro. Okay. So I'm like, oh, fantastic. But not everybody wears Magnum. And even though we think, oh, big dicks, it's not about that. It's about making sure what you're wearing fits, right? You know how ridiculous we all looked in Jinko jeans? That's how ridiculous you look if your condom's not fitted properly.
Well, and I would
That's
think
what makes
feel. You get the
right.
not happy friction, and then the fluids can leak out because it's like too big, likely because
Yep.
we don't have secure base. And or I'm sorry, the girlfriend, if she's watching this or she catches it later, I'm stealing your story, even though she would be embarrassed. When it's not sized properly, it stands to come off in your partner, right? And in this case, it was a normal hetero, whatever, cis hetero relationship. Thank you.
Mhm.
In my head trying to figure out my verbiage. And she was like, wow, where did the condom go? Did you take it? Da da da. And it was kind
Hello,
of like a
hello,
hookup.
hello. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
it
to
was kind
like
of like
get
a
your
hookup. So she just
camera out
assumed it was
and look
taken
over
care of. And the
at your
next
phone.
day she had to get it. And like, it happens. I'm not shaming anybody for
It
it,
does
but
happen.
and
Absolutely.
sometimes people don't know, right, until there's an infection or something else, because they just assume like no one's talking, like did you throw out the condom, baby? Did you find it? Even though that is like, hi, if you're going to be adult and responsible enough to have sexual intercourse, there we go, then wouldn't you want to have this conversation?
You want to also make sure that you're giving people access to your body that respect it. Maybe someone that if they feel the condom breaks, because they'll feel it, because they can feel just fine, that they pull out, stop, and reapply. That's something that is not talked about. That's a
Isn't
way
that
that
swoon worthy? I feel like that's a romance comedy thing in general, right? Where the scene is, and make no mistake, I like to read all my smut, but I check to see what authors mention condoms or not.
Mhm.
I do. And
Yep.
a lot of them do, which is fantastic. But I know maybe 10 years ago they did not, right?
Right.
So it's like, we got to start somewhere,
Pressed his
folks.
hardness into me. And I was, what do you know, if you all read the Bible with the veracity in which you read A Court of Thorn and Roses, there would not be 149 creature cocks. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, you said you made an Akator reference, and it reminded me of your freaking outfit at AMI, and you were like, "It's like Tamlin vibes." I'm like, I can't. It was
Oh my God,
amazing,
yes,
and I
the
didn't take a
corset waist.
picture, so you'll have to send it to me later because I've
Yes,
mentioned it on more than one occasion. By the
yes.
way, we're like best friends in my head because I tell everybody about you, and I was like, "Did you
I
see
adore you.
Josh's
So we
outfit?"
totally are. We totally are. I
No,
adore you.
but I loved it. If you didn't see it, I'll find a picture. Josh was flexing, and it makes me happy because I don't live on this plane, right? I live over there, anyways. Uh, but yes, even in Court of Thorn and Roses, not that book specifically, but
Mhm.
they do mention birth control and disease at some point, even in the fairy tale land, guys. It's different,
Right.
different biology, but they mention it, which
Right.
I don't know.
You
I've
may
been
get a
reading.
wing wart or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Right. I'm still trying to figure out what a fairy dick looks like so I can launch them.
Hey, so far they're not upset about them. Is all I've been able to find out. No,
Right.
yeah, those would be good.
Yeah.
I'll work on this for you. Maybe it just needs to be like Starlight inspired or
Just a little
something.
sketch. But I think if we normalize just our health, honestly, when we first started with this pandemic thing, right? When the pandemic first happened in 2020, when the vaccines first came out, there was a pretty good split. Oh, who's taking them, who's not. For people that were immune compromised, for people that had health issues or were nervous about their health and their future, myself included, having sickle cell anemia, they asked, "Hey, what's your vax status before you come over? Like, we're gonna have a party, but everyone's got to be vaxxed." There's no shame in saying like, my mom, God love her, went from super cool to like boomer, super cool boomer, but like the one that sends you the videos on Facebook. Watch this before Mark Zuckerberg deletes it, and I'm like, that's not real. So when you
I have a grandfather that
yeah,
keeps me very informed of many things, and he's in
yeah,
his
from
90s,
freedom.eagle
and I love
slash
it, but also it's a lot of information. Thank you.
right. So when COVID first happened, I had no problem telling my mom, because we lived close at the time. Hey, listen, I love you more than anything. I love you coming to my house. However, for my health, you're going to need to get vaccinated before you come over. When my sister had her niece, she came to me and said, "Hey," she came to everyone, "I love you. But in order to see my daughter, you have to go get the
The whooping
PDAP."
cough.
Yes, have to get
Mm-hmm.
a whooping cough. Okay.
Oh,
And I went to friggin' CVS and I
right.
sat
I feel
down and
for
I'm
all
like,
new
here you
moms.
go. So there's no shame, right? My
But
sister was
even that
not
was a
ashamed.
difficult conversation. At least, like I know myself and my circle, it was just because I had kids earlier than the rest of my family did. Right, to be
Right.
like, hi, I'm demanding this of you, and my family's, whatever. What is that, like, Regency, Victorian, traditional
Exactly.
patriarchy raised? So
Exactly.
obviously, it was like, how dare you?
How
But
dare you tell me I need a Tdap vaccine in order to touch your baby? Well, because I don't want you to
it
give
does
it
nothing for
RSV.
you, and could put your little nugget at risk. Come on, I'm the one that has to deal with the medical bills and the sickness and the stress.
Right.
So no thanks.
So being able to have these conversations freely, like a mother is not embarrassed about saying you need to get a Tdap shot before you come and hold my kid, the same
Hey,
way
if you're dealing
I
with that audience, we got your back.
absolutely the same
We love
way I have no fucking problem, zero, 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 about making sure that people I invite in my home in the winter months also share my same vaccination rituals. Because I'm sick, I get vaccinated actually every 4 months instead of every six. But as long as every 6 months you get a little jab, you are welcome to come over for Christmas. Because if I get sick, I'll die. Okay. And
Well, and
there's
I can't be comparing apples to apples here, right? But
right,
when all of this happened, and as we're talking about health and all the fun things,
right,
I have a really great friend from college, and she's allergic to both cats and dogs, right? And it's not, and we're talking like allergic enough that it's not like anaphylactic shock, but it triggers an asthma attack, and we got to end the party, and we got to go to the
right.
hospital sometimes, all that stuff. But it's been hard for her in her life, but she's figured it out where it's just like, you know what, you got to hold that boundary. So even if it's like somebody, hey, do you want to go do whatever we're going to do? And she'll be like, cool, but whose house is it at? Do they have animals? Like, just odd. I mean, it sucks. It's a lot of extra effort
Hmm.
because it's not, everybody just assumes, hey, everybody can hang out with dogs or cats. And then, people put her in this like animal hater corner. And
Right,
you're like, no, it's not that. I'm not trying to be difficult. It's just then I'm not going to be fun. Right. And
right.
I'm the one that has to pick up the pieces of me. And I hate that she gets judged for that. So I can see it on the other way. Right. Like, why can't you be like, it's like my house, or like, my time, my invitation. But like, I guess I would say just let people be who they are. Right. I'm sure you still love your mom. And even though maybe I don't know what decision
Absolutely.
your mom made, but like,
Absolutely.
I
She
still
got
love
the
you. I'm not
shot.
going to shame you for your decision.
Right. Right. So my thing honestly, if we're willing to give someone access to our body, we have to understand that we deserve that respect that we want to ask for.
I guess
Right?
that's that whole like love yourself conversation.
Right. We deserve to be able to have sex and it be informed. Consent is only consent if it is informed. If we fuck and you didn't tell me you had herpes, even if I used a condom, even if the condom didn't break and we didn't have any oral exchange of fluids, and then I find out 6 months later, oh yeah, by the way, I had the herpes, I just didn't share it with you. That's going to be a problem. That's a problem of ethics, right? That's a problem of morals and integrity. I find so much more strength in vulnerability, so much more strength in standing up for ourselves. Because quite frankly, I am worth it. You're worth it. Your friend is worth the effort to be like, you know what? We have a cat. So maybe not this trip, but next trip we'll go to Joey's house because he doesn't have anything. And then that way it's fine.
Right.
There's
It's
nothing.
communication, even though it's
Right.
scary. I get it. I struggle as a person who loves words and uses words as my art. Sometimes I can't even say what I'm meaning to say because it's like I'm trying to draw a boundary, but I also don't want to be rude. And I want you to know that I love you. And it comes out like kapla. I understand.
Right. Right. We deserve that common courtesy. We deserve informed consent. We deserve to be able to have sex and really enjoy it without that back of your head thought. I mean, there are so many options, from the pre-exposure prophylactics. There's prep that you take every day. There is like an emergency prep, or a one time where you would take it 2 to 24 hours, 2 pills before your exposure, before you're going to have sex with somebody new, and then take a pill a day for like 4 days after sexual exposure to eliminate that risk. And I mean, between that, condoms, dams. I mean, we're not in the days necessarily of folks pulling out diaphragm cases from their purse. Okay. But
But props to
honestly,
you if that's where you're at.
here for it. Here for it.
Absolutely.
My mom told me a story that really scarred me for life. That's why I'm in therapy. That she was trying to pull out her diaphragm one time when she was like 21. I don't know. I wasn't around yet, very young. And it was like stuck on her cervix, and she like pulled real hard, and it across the room and stuck on the wall. And I'm like,
Woo! Well, this is
well,
also probably going to be TMI, but I used to have the Paragard, the non-hormone IUD, and whatever. My body just doesn't like foreign objects, right? We have Shay. That worked out great, right?
right.
So like I
It
can
only likes
understand.
baby foreign objects, not anyone.
I know. Well, so now my new fear is because now I'm on the Mirena one, and that's been a fun journey, and that's been like 2 months of spotting fun because we're dealing with like hormone stuff,
Right.
and again, just having to, again, how do I want to say this? The concept of like, I know the cups and like the other barriers, menstrual cups, and other forms of birth control, like that birth. I can speak English. I'm just like too paranoid now, having had my experience with the IUDs. Like right now, I'm using birth control, not for birth control, because like, thanks husband
Right.
for getting the vasectomy, and then I ended up on an IUD anyways. What are you gonna do?
Right.
But some of those, like right, the Flex, I think it's like a menstrual disc called the Flex, and like
Mhm.
some of those other cups, they are not IUD compatible, and nobody's talking about it.
No, they are not IUD compatible. One of the other misconceptions for vulva owners is if you've had a hysterectomy and you don't have a cervix, that your risk of STI contamination significantly drops.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah, because no, it'll still just affect
here's
everything
the
there.
deal. Your
Yeah, please
cervix
go on. This is very
is
interesting.
your vagina is only about the length of like a toilet paper tube with a condom on the end of it. Okay. That condom is what gives the end of it stretch. So that toilet paper tube can take something that big in it because it has that condom to give it stretch and still be in there.
Because it's
That's
latexy. It's stretchy. Just
right.
kidding.
That's the cervix, right? That stretch is the cervix. When you have a hysterectomy with a cervical amputation, which is called an oophorectomy, it's like you hot glue the end of that toilet paper tube. And now you have a cervical cuff. They amputate the cervix and now they seal it. So you, number one, have no idea how deep your new vagina is until you
Interesting.
fuck yourself. Number two, you may or may not lose your ability to produce any moisture whatsoever, since a lot of vaginal wetness is generated up at the cervix level. Now, there are plenty of folks that get wet as shit even after an oophorectomy, but they still had to work on the sizing. There's no way for you to know. And the reason is it depends why you had a hysterectomy. It
Truth.
depends why you needed an oophorectomy. If you had cancer that went far down, maybe they took more of your vaginal canal than if someone was just transitioning and has a healthy cervix.
Well, and I'm sure even like a millimeter, a centimeter is going to make a difference for those
A
people,
huge
right?
difference. So the first time you have penetrative sex with your new vaginal depth and a cervical cuff, there's a lot of opportunity to bleed, an awful lot of opportunity to kind of, because it's a seam, right? It's like a rolled up lunch bag here. It's a seam.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it's like they fucking sewed your sleeve shut, so there's no stretch. There's nowhere for it to go. So when you have someone that maybe they have a dick piercing, maybe they are going a little too rough and you're not getting wet enough, you get some friction that creates a little tear inside the skin, and then that's a blood that's just right straight into your bloodstream, straight to your gut. So a huge misconception, especially among trans folk, is, well, I don't have a cervix, so I'm good. Congratulations. All
Yep.
not having a cervix means is you don't have to go back to the gynecologist. Okay, if you have a hysterectomy and you still have a cervix, you've got to get your schmears still. If you've had a hysterectomy and you've had an oophorectomy also, where your cervix is amputated, you don't have to go back for them to clink, 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 because there's nothing in there, right? Like it's just a fucking, it's like a hello, and then there it is. You see yourself looking back at you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. Hello, everybody.
Could you imagine birthing
Hello.
me and it's just this?
You know what? That was, I mean, sometimes I know not a lot of people, I don't know, right? That the concept of like loving yourself, but also like looking at yourself truly and all those things. Like I see a lot of people thinking that that's what happens, right? That's what I imagined. Like all of a sudden it's like I pull out the hand mirror and it's like, hello.
Just my eye.
Yeah. Is this the dad bod Don? Just kidding. Reminding you, just kidding. I would actually be about it. It would make me smile. It'd probably get me out of my head.
While I just destroy a vagina on the. Luckily, I've got a chick skull, so it's smaller, so it's not going to be as painful. Luckily.
Hey,
So
you
yeah,
know
I mean,
what?
once
Again,
you.
this is
Sorry.
no, this is perfect. And I'm looking at the time, and I like told myself I wasn't going to make like hour-long podcasts. So I hope you all have enjoyed. But I'm going to see if I can get Josh on monthly, because again, look at where this can go. I had no idea about oophorectomies and hysterectomies and STIs. This is like very enlightening. Thank you. I do want to just like give you one more question for the audience, right? And then like give you time to just kind of like leave any wise words and like wrap up, and then we'll do the thing. So I just want it for everybody out there that's still listening, or when you catch this later, any Josh tips, right? But the tip, because we would talk about tips all day. I'm hilarious. On maybe what can someone kind of suggest to a customer when they're in the store and they're maybe nervous about discussing an STI history and or testing with a partner, because you're like the mastermind of just, hey, here's a great way to bring this up, right? Any tips there?
So it is super important to take yourself more serious than you take anybody else. So before you breach that conversation with your partner, you can go to Planned Parenthood and just get a little finger prick HIV test. There are adult stores that I have been to that have had open to the public events that had a tent outside for instant HIV testing. And I had gone, and I would tell straight folks, straight couples, farmer boys. This was actually in Athens, Georgia. Okay, we're talking Georgia. I went straight in that little
Oh,
tent and got
we're
my
talking some
finger.
southern
Right,
bells over there.
got my finger pricked, came out. I'm like, that's it, 10 minutes, and now I could enjoy the rest of the day. Right, and they're like, well, I never had. Just think a minute now. You don't always know what you've never had. You don't know if you've when you
You
might have
don't know
contracted
what you
something.
don't know.
Right. So when folks are coming in and they're a little embarrassed, we kind of want to normalize and ask, what is it? Right. So I had a customer one time that was there after an open to the public event, had a bunch of dildos, just a bunch of butt plugs, dildo, a whole, and she looked
Smorgasbord, ready to
right.
go.
She looked terrified. So I stay when I'm teaching to the public. I'll stay for an hour after. So I go up to her and I'm like, hey, pal, can I give you a hand with all those dicks? So she was very nervous. I could tell. And I'm like, so talk to me. Like, honestly, you showing up today is probably a really good day. So let's talk openly. If you're vulnerable with customers back, I told her immediately, I'm like, listen, I'm trans. I was a woman. I've been through shit. Let's get to the bottom. She opened up, said that she had cervical cancer, had a hysterectomy and an oophorectomy. She could no longer take her husband's depth. And she was a person of color in communities of color using lubricants, not really an applauded thing, like my dick better get you wet, whatever it is. I asked her, I said, okay,
I
so
feel like that
aside from
stigma still exists in any lube.
it
Like, how
does,
many
it
times
does.
did I hear? I'm sure everybody hears that is in liquids. Like, oh, that's nice, but I don't need it, or he gets
Yeah.
me plenty, or I don't want to offend him. I was like, that's not what it's about.
That's
It's for
not what it's
sensation.
about.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I said, aside from the cultural implications that I understand, what are you afraid of? So I'm afraid of how it'll make me taste. Okay. We've got to get to the root. So
Yeah,
if
the real
we're
root. Just say
right,
it. Whatever that like nasty little like,
just
and I
say it.
don't listen to that voice a lot of times, but I'm
Right,
training to be like, okay, why am I having this reaction? Like,
right.
it's okay if you're
So
just like, I'm just a little jealous, or I'm a little pissed off, or I'm a little scared. You just have to
right.
say it.
So when our customers come in and they're shy, we need to soften the tone of our voice. We need to meet their eyes and be vulnerable, be open, talk with them and show them that they're not in this alone, that they're not just coming in to a dildo store. They're coming into a sexual health resource
Right? This is
in
not the
their
porno shop.
community. Right. The times have changed. So they're coming in. Our retail partners are going through things like Williams University and Elevate U and XR University, and they're going through all of these amazing programs. They are sexual health resources. So once we show folks like, hey, listen, I'm not just here to sell you a rabbit, okay? I want you to be affirmed in the way you choose to experience pleasure, be informed in the way you choose to experience it.
And
Then
by the
folks,
way, you're not really getting the experience you want when you just buy the rabbit and not the cleaner and the lube and possibly the
right,
condoms that
right.
continue the rest of your journey, right? That's not going to get you what you want.
So I'm not saying, if you have an STI to disclose your status to anybody, but what I am saying is to understand how scary that moment is and think, how would I want to be approached? Psychologically, we need someone to soften your tone, bring your voice down lower, meet their eyes, get a little bit closer, maybe go to a different corner away from other customers and say, listen, I am here to listen, to help. This is a safe spot. You're safe here. No one's going to leave here and tell the community anything you tell me. You're safe.
Absolutely. And
You're
like being
safe.
somebody that used to have to manage the payroll, sometimes we don't always have the staff that we'd like when the people come in, right? So you might be with other people, you might be checking in. It can be hard. I'm just like noticing that, like, right, to nail that from your customer, but it is doable, right? Like
Mhm.
you can still be vulnerable from afar and be like, I want to help you, or tell me what you're looking for. I'm going to be with you in a moment. Just again, be authentic. I mean, you don't need to give away your personal stuff, right? You can have your boundaries and be protected,
Absolutely.
but also you can be honest, right? Like, how much business has gone really well when you say things like, I don't know when I can get it done, but I'd love to get it done for you.
Right. And honestly, especially in our industry, folks aren't coming in there to buy their chicken for dinner or to buy a tire for their car. This is intimate shit. So
No, yeah, they're
folks are
coming
coming
into
in
your
there.
store for a reason. They might not
Right.
know it. Maybe it's just curiosity, but this is why retail doesn't die, right? I know it can
Right.
be hard right now, but it's always going to come back because you get
Always.
instant gratification and you get an experience that you can't get online ever.
Exactly, exactly, always. So when we're willing to talk with our customers outside of the cash trap, this isn't a conversation to have behind the counter. You've got to meet people where they are. And that really speaks to how we should address everyone anyway, right? You want to meet folks how they are, where they are, and speak to them how you want to be spoken to the same way.
But then
When,
disclaimer, because I'll get
Mhm.
it just a little grumpy, but not really. You're correct, but also I had to add to this, like, right, within reason,
Yes,
right? But keep your
yes,
boundaries. As somebody who like
absolutely.
never like assessed any boundaries, that can
Right.
be hard for some people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be guarded, be safe, right? But meet folks, especially if they're customers coming in and they're normal people and not like the weirdos that pee in the dressing rooms. Meet them where they are, because chances are they're just confused and nervous. That lady with all of the dicks, once I knew what the issue was, once I figured it out, I took her to a lubricant and it was cookies and cream flavored. She loved it. I said, let's make that cookie taste like cookies if it's not going to work, right?
Hey, I
We found,
remember I remember flavor like that back in the day.
We
Mm-hmm.
found a dildo that was similar to the size of her husband's penis, and then we got her a little bumper, so that way she can put the bumper
Oh,
on the
like the O
dildo.
nut bumper.
hmm or
Great.
like the Doc Johnson helping hand, even
Yeah, yeah. It was
something
like,
like that. You could stack those so that way she could masturbate with a dildo and then know how she could help her husband. She was terrified that he was going to leave. So she came in this
poor
store
thing.
terrified, ashamed, embarrassed.
Oh,
She
baby.
left the store in happy tears. She left the store with a lube, some bumpers, a dildo, and knowledge,
Well, right, because
affirmation. She
everything is
realized,
scary when you don't know about it, because your brain is
right,
going to make a story regardless. That's what our brains do.
right.
Brains are misers on your energy, guys, by the way. Don't let your brain be like, that's not needed, right? It's like your brain is like set up to conserve so much energy because we think we got to go fight a saber-toothed tiger,
Right.
but we don't anymore, right?
At the end of the day, our bodies are temples. Now, mine is like one in like somewhere in a mandarin forest where the monkeys throw shit
Well, right,
everywhere.
it's okay that
But
your temple is getting renovated.
right, but our bodies truly house us forever from birth to death, and we only get one of them.
I'm
We
not
could
gonna get that
modify
over
and change, and when I tell you I was not born looking this way, we could modify and change so many things, but we can't get a new body. Your body, your pleasure is important, but also your autonomy is important. If before you give somebody access to your temple, before you let someone in your house, how about you get to know them first? How about you ask a question or two? It's not unsexy to be like, listen, I want to fuck the shit out of you. Okay. I just want to be informed.
Oh
I was
yes, how do we do
tested.
this? How do we get
Right.
there?
One of the things, when was the last time you were tested? Can we share test result? I was tested 6 months ago. I was tested 4 months ago. When was the last time you were tested? If you weren't, you want to go together? You want to go get tested together before?
Date
We
night
have
testing.
we
Oh my
have
god,
crazy
that's
sex.
adorable.
I mean, honestly, there are so many ways
Or there's like
to
some at
just
home kits now that I think I
there
don't know
are
if it's all the things, but like, right, just like
there are
roll
at
up with
home
your
kits.
condoms and your test if you
Mm-hmm.
want to. Be
There are
prepared.
HIV tests that are at home that you can buy on Amazon. So when I'm talking about discretion, you can find tests. A lot of these stores now through Doc Johnson are carrying like PrEP and Plan B and a lot of these things because they're realizing, wait a minute, I'm just not the dildo store anymore. We really are a resource as necessary as Planned Parenthood.
Which I am happy to see more Plan B in our retail stores than just, believe it or not, Amazon Basic in a 24 pack, because nobody is like PrEP. That's a different episode. Unfortunately,
Right.
like I didn't even realize until I started studying it that, Plan B is just that. It shouldn't be A. Like, talk about the stress of your head when Plan B doesn't really work because you exhausted A because there's a weight limit, or you could have already ovulated and too bad, so sad.
Yep. Yep. And that weight limit means that, oh shit, now I may have to buy two or three, but they're $60 a piece. I
But
maybe only had
also, from
money
what
for
I've
one.
heard, taking two or three typically ends people up in the hospital.
hmm
Is it's a
Yep.
lot of freaking crazy pills
Yeah.
with love.
Absolutely.
With
Absolutely.
anything, there's a good and a bad. Like, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. Period.
Exactly.
So right, start
We
doing shit for you, but be informed.
Right. We need to love ourselves, want ourselves, be attracted to ourselves a hair more than anybody else.
Oh my god, I
Because
feel
I
like
can tell you, I'm not willing to fuck anybody that's going to get me sick. No matter how much I want to fuck you. I love myself just a hair more. It doesn't mean I don't love you, I don't respect you. It doesn't mean that if you tell me you got something, it's a deal breaker, but we're going to have a conversation. We need
oh,
to
I
normalize
adore
that.
my children when they're sick and like tiny and wanted to sneeze in my face. Nobody thinks that's hot. Okay, it is
No,
what it is. Like, let's
no.
just be honest about it. Mom doesn't want
Just
you to sneeze in
just
the
be
face.
honest, because it's not a deal breaker. You didn't kick your kids out. You still
No,
friggin' raised their asses, even
I'm
though
just
they were
like, all right,
disgusting.
let's talk about manners, baby cakes. Also, yuck.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh
I
my goodness.
think one of the things that folks generally do is reach out in like the Dear Dad Bod Dom columns in XBiz and ask
Which
like
are
how.
fabulous. If y'all aren't reading them, they're
Thank
in
you.
XBiz monthly, and I have no idea how you be so approachable and available and honest with like no gatekeeping, no nothing, and you write that shit monthly. So
It's the
claps,
autism.
claps to you.
Thank you. I just actually submitted September's, I believe, just a couple days ago. So I'm looking forward to it. There's ways to ask questions in a discreet way. There's ways to, help your customers. And if you're not sure of the answer, holla at me. There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of me, whether it's the handle at the bottom. We set up a whole email address, askjosh@xrbrands.com.
That's
That's
amazing.
actually monitored by two other people because I have ADHD. So you're gonna get answered by me because my boss gets
But
to.
I don't know when. That's the key of ADHD. I
It'll
want to
be
do
quick
it.
because they go to Rebecca also. So questions, right? You want to ask, like, how do I talk to Mike? How can I make the holler at me? Because you're worth the time. You're worth the conversation. And you're worth the comfort of knowledge and the comfort of autonomy. That's what I believe.
No, I love that. And again, if y'all need help, he's got the tags here. But also, if you just comment here, I think we're all on the same group. He will see it. But
Mhm.
also, we're all here to help. So if you have questions for him, or you've got questions for me, or anybody really in the industry, if I can't help you, I'm sure Josh can. You've been
I've
doing
got
this like at least a solid 5 or 6 years longer than me. So
you. I've got you.
and
I've
and then
got you.
and then just your own education before that. So yes, I would say, hey, refer to the Josh. Absolutely.
Honestly, add me on social, right? The dad bod dom, but also my first and last name on Facebook. If you see that stupid little blue check, you know it's me. Add
I
me,
got my
and
blue check now too. Do people like the check? Are we into the
you know what?
check?
It's something that, like, you have to, I guess, be a.
I think it helps. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's annoying you can't change your profile picture because they have to re-verify your face. Quite frankly, whatever. I digress. But that's how it's so much easier with as much as I travel for
Yeah.
with such a generic name to be like, look for the little
Like
check,
no,
and then
that
you'll
that
know,
that one's me. No,
and
and
then
and
you'll
then
know it's actually me.
and
I
then
want to
saying I
make
didn't
sure that
know.
the info people are getting is legit and they know that they could trust it. They know it's not just some shadow account writing a bunch of bullshit.
Well,
It's
I'm not
me
cool enough to
writing a
have a
bunch of
shadow
bullshit.
account, but
No,
y'all, I got a blue check mark.
because we're fucking
Yeah.
awesome. That's why.
Look at that. We're blue check marking all over the place. Pretty soon we're all gonna have the blue check marks and we're gonna just dominate.
All over the place.
We got
All
this,
over the
guys.
place.
Authenticity, no gatekeeping. We're just gonna kill it. Anyways, okay. Last question, because
Yes.
whatever, we're gone way over, but I don't care. It doesn't seem like the audience cares because you're fabulous. Um, we're just gonna wrap up. But what wise words of wisdom or shameless plugging, things you want to get off your chest? Now's your minute.
Perfect. Shameless plugging. Obviously, we were talking about the Dad Bod Dom, the Dear Dad Bod Dom. For those of you that don't read it, it is every month in XBiz and every other month in Store Erotica.
And as someone who's attempting to write like this whole show, it's a lot of work when you have to
it,
sell and do all the things too,
it's
guys.
so much work. I write
So
them in
much work.
Marriott's. I wrote this month on my flight on my little tray table like this because I was very
God, I
busy.
hate being a tall
Oh,
girl for all of
oh
this
my
stuff
God.
and then be like, hold on, I gotta look at this anally approved
Why does
condom.
my back hurt?
Excuse
Because I'm
me.
sitting like a fucking crawfish half the time.
No,
Um,
same. Like, I think we're kind of the same height. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay,
So
I
the
got this. Here comes my expense report.
yep,
Like, I'm a
absolutely.
shrimpy.
Like I'm a shrimp person. The Dear Dad Bod Dom column is the thing where, like I said, you write me, right? Ask me a question. I reword it, so that way it's not as noticeable for who it could be, right? I don't want anyone to recognize your speech
Or
patterns or
right
the
as
way
like
you.
crazy vulnerable. Yes, you're being vulnerable, but like some stuff, yeah, you're in
Right.
person.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Helene, thank you,
Thank
love.
you,
Miss
Helene.
you.
Thank you, Helene. I adore you. Um,
I adore you too.
honestly, my passion, my hyperfixation as an ADHD person is
Is it your
helping
total
people.
hyperfixation forever or just for now? Because I go through like quarterly, monthly hyperfixations for
Well,
some.
it's this one, the whole sex one is a forever thing. Right now, it's oatmeal and sourdough bread. Those are my current
Ooh.
temporary hyperfixations. And Marionberry, because I'm in the state where Marionberries exist. So when folks have questions, they reach out. I reword. I answer openly, honestly. I don't cut any corners, right? We don't have time in life, and there are no trigger warnings with life, so I don't give them. We're just gonna tell you, like, hey, this is what can happen. This is good. This is the bad. My passion is to help people experience pleasure in ways that affirm them, not just the way they experience it, but how they feel afterwards too. So if you feel like maybe you're struggling with talking to your customers, hey Francine, you're struggling with even personally, how do I relate to some of my customers? Maybe you live in a high kink area and you're not a kinky person. How do I relate? I'm available. As being a not sales rep, I have so much more availability, even though I'm extraordinarily busy, right? But I'm not having to write orders like I would be if I were a sales rep. I wouldn't be able to do this right now if I were a sales rep because I taught this morning and I'd be ordering, doing the thing that I have the freedom to like roll some wacky tobacco
Which
and
I have
answer
to
your
do that stuff
questions.
too, which is why I'm like, Josh, help me. I don't
Yeah,
actually have the experience to help answer these, but I care about it.
right. I am I answer anything. I don't see competition in our industry. I don't believe in competitors. I don't give a shit what you ask me. I don't give a shit whose brand it is. I don't care what the question is. I'm going to do my best to answer it honestly, effectively, and in a way that's going to be easy to digest and also spit back out to your customers in a way that sounds like, what the fuck is up?
Right, without
Right.
again giving away, there was a while, and this was maybe 8 years ago, where it felt like you had to try the product in order to sell it, and it's like, you know what, not all of this is for everybody. That's the
Right.
point of it. It's like we have everything for everybody, but you shouldn't have to sell based off of a testimony. That's a different.
I don't have a prostate, but it doesn't mean I can't teach you about it. You
Right,
know
I
what
mean,
I
and again,
mean?
that's where this is different. We got good synergy, right? You can do all
Right,
the education, and I'm like, no, but this is how you sell it.
right.
Ooh, I'm
Good,
getting diabolical.
good tag
Anyways,
team.
thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry, y'all, but not sorry. This was like a great episode. Helene said so, even though
Helene
it's
said
longer.
so, so quite frankly.
Verified, right? We got blue check marks
Yeah.
and a Helene, right? My Jewish
And
New York
finger
mother,
condoms. So
and
quite
finger
frankly.
condoms, right? And I also have to figure out, like, I love that you have those, but I maybe need to start supplying them for you, which
I,
maybe
I
I
am
do them.
I am such a clumsy person that the amount of band-aids I travel with, and since again I did the medical thing, like wound care is my shit. I didn't have to go anywhere to get my finger reattached. I did it. And it's doing fantastic. But also finger condoms.
Like, I sell them by the bucket, and like people want
Perfect.
them, but then it's like such a weird thing. We love you, Helene. You're killing us. Thank you, Maxwell.
Thank you,
Um,
Max.
but like we no, I'll fuck it up. Maybe we can brand them, put like your logo on them or
Sure.
something.
If I could, not for nothing, if I could just like have some fingernail painting on them, that
Yes.
would be great
I mean,
because
I don't know if I can get the manufacturers to do it, but we'll
we,
make something
we're,
fun.
we'll try. We'll try.
Why I'm just saying it now. I'm gonna work on being your provider of all the latex, because I'm
Of my
pretty sure
finger.
XR is buying from me anyways for your website.
Mhm.
So we'll make
Mhm.
this happen.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't want to stand in Walgreens like an ass. I've been on testosterone almost 20 years. I'm not going to ask a question. I'm going to die before I ask anybody anything. That's a man thing. I'm so sorry. It has dumbed me down. I stood in Walgreens, two different stores, for an hour combined looking for the finger condoms. I'm not going to ask somebody. My fingers falling off, held on by a bounty paper towel. And I'm like, where the fuck? Not asking nobody.
Nope, nope.
So
I
I'd much
also
rather have a finger condom
maybe
hookup.
maybe I'm just like, also like, I got no patience for this,
Yeah.
but like I had to wait. What was this? I was in Las Vegas and I needed new eyelashes, and I had to wait for someone to come and open it for the freaking
Oh
eyelashes.
my God. God
But
forbid you need to fucking buy deodorant in Las
deodorant,
Vegas.
what if I needed a pregnancy test and a monostat stat?
Like
Like, come on.
exactly. I'm just trying to get some Twizzlers and Dove Mint Plus Care. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right, oh my goodness, look,
I love
I
it
can get
so
my
much.
daughter to make you some go-up nails.
Fuck yes.
That would be
I'm telling
amazing.
you. Because
But
these
also, I've got finger condoms in like the pack of
yeah,
100. We'll
yeah.
figure it out.
This finger is going to be a thing for a minute, so that's why I'm traveling with the finger condoms because I went through the nail. I mean, I cut my
Oh my
fingertip.
goodness. And you're not doing that. What was that the liquid stitches? Those things solve
Dermabond.
everything.
Hmm. Yep. So, being in wound care, like I have a suture kit. I'd rather not, so I used a lot of skin glue to realign, so that way the capillaries regrew back because it was like just a dead fingertip, and I'm like, well, son of a bitch. I guess
See,
we're ordering
you
pizza.
like know the stuff. I'd be like, I'm just living with a dead fingertip. He like
Right?
reattached
So
capillaries. I'm like, great.
I put it together and then spent 37 hours looking for finger condoms. Finally
God,
found
you're
them.
amazing.
Almost
You know
died of
what?
thirst.
I wish you would have just called. I would have been like, I mean, it still probably would have taken 37 hours to get to you, but
It would
we're
have
going
been
to make
much
sure you're
better than me
stacked and packed
standing,
for next time.
looking confused in my New Balances, just
Oh,
holding my
we gotta switch you from New Balance to Hoka. We'll work on that later.
I have a pair. I just got a pair. They're fantastic.
Dude, I got two because I had to. Sorry. Welcome to the ranting part of it. Not brought to you by Hoka. But I had to buy two because one was like my training one, and then one was like when I'm trying to do squats because I got the flat arch. And my daughter has stolen them because I had no idea. We bought her new like cute like Chucks at the beginning of the summer that like I was jealous. Like I wish I could wear those right now. I want them.
Yeah,
And she
Chucks
was
are
a
cute,
size.
but they have their feet
So
don't
she was a
belong.
9 then, and then all of a sudden school started on Monday, and she's like, by the way, I have no shoes. I'm like, what? So my Hokas are hers right now, and I think I'm just gonna like I'm on the road for the next 2 weeks, so I'm like, okay, those are your shoes, babe. Because like, what are you gonna do? But
Right.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
That just means you have to buy a new pair. So I mean,
No on clouds. What's an on cloud?
I'll have to try it. I am just old and rickety, so anything that helps my body not crumble like Mayan ruins, I'm here for.
Yes. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm just trying to be aged classically, like I'm the Colosseum.
That 4 came onto my age with such aggressiveness. It came in hot. So now I have to step very carefully so I
No,
don't.
I hear you. I'm telling you, no one wanted to believe me. It's better now. But I was like, I swear, I started perimenopause at 33, and everybody wanted to be just like, you're 33. It's fine. And now I'm like, cool. I'm about to be 37, and things have not improved. Figure it out. But again, you got to advocate. I really wanted to just be like, it's fine. They said what they're going to say and do the things. Right. But, you know, I had a mutual mentor be like, no, Tori. Right. And we're doing
I've been
better.
a fake husband for femme friends that want to get a hysterectomy. I
Oh,
can't because
hey.
what is your husband gonna think? Bitch, we'll show up and then we'll go to Starbucks after. I
It
have no
does still
problem.
exist. I don't want to be
So
that
I have been a
person.
fake husband and a fake boyfriend, a fake fiance, so that way someone can get the care that they want for their body.
I'm
Which
a
they need the
really good
permission of
fake
a man.
reference as long as I know you, and I'm a really good write you a cover letter person.
Oh yeah. Oh
See, we
yeah.
can all take over the world. We just got to figure out and then
Our anxiety. That's it.
I know all the anxieties, right? There's that.
We're the
Oh my
best.
goodness. Now I know I'm old. You guys are so young. Okay, not really though. I think I've explained this to you, Helene. I'm 12. Like I'm a 12-year-old boy on the inside, right? Like I love potty humor and dad jokes, and I don't want to take myself seriously at all. But then like none of my like really good friends are my age. It's like 30-year-old, 30 something and married and giving a shit about your kids. It's not what most 30-year-olds are doing right now because you can't afford it. I can't afford my kids, but we already told you the IUD story, so here we are, right? Like it is what it is, and you know,
your kids just cost you a pair of Hokas. They're fucking like $200. Like,
I
the kid just
know.
cost you Hokas.
Like, should I just say Hoka 5 more times, and then maybe the YouTube algorithm will be like, "Hey, no."
And they'll send us a pair. Okay.
That's how business works, right?
Yep, I'm here for it. Algorithm, I'm ready to dance to it.
Question mark. Oh my goodness. This has been like one of my favorite shows in a while. There's so many good. I wish I was like on my computer where I could like clip it because I'm attempting to like do things with this content.
Right.
And there was a lot of good stuff. So maybe I'll get it. Just got killed with college tuition. Oh my goodness. I can't even yet. Like I'm trying to save for it and that's not going well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to the school of hard knocks, kids.
Exactly. Eat your eggshells too. I don't give a shit. We're gonna drink pond water at this point because
this is kind of how it is, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so leaving it for just a little bit of last engagement with the audience of Helene, I guess. But if you guys have anything that you want to ask real quickly, we're on the wrap up portion, and I love hanging out with Josh. This could just be a whole new show. But we all busy.
I'd be happy to.
Oh.
I'd be happy. Listen, as long as I am not actively in the air on the evening of a Tuesday, I'm good. Because I'm here in a Fairfield, right in the middle of fucking Portland. So
I'm in a backyard. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I am happy to. Happy to.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we'll talk later because maybe co-hosting is a fun thing or a monthly thing. I don't know. Okay, but this has been great in my hour and 13-minute episode. I'm gonna have to clip the crap out of this because it's been amazing. And Josh, you're my favorite. And everybody that's catching it later, still feel free to comment or reach out. We'll get it to you because that's the point. And if you're somebody that maybe wants to come on the show or wants us to deep dive into another topic out there that you're having, because again, that's like kind of how it started. Like nobody's talking about all the things I've just learned about condoms. Like, why is it not even in our section right now? I don't even sell toys, and I know everything about like dual motors and like waterproof, splash proof, buttons, blah blah blah, right? So it's like I'm trying to just make sure everybody has the information to make the best choice they have.
Absolutely.
This was really great. You guys killed it. Thanks, Helene.
Thank you. When we know better, we do better. So as long as we're continuing to learn, we're going to be continuing to advance and continuing to be better as we go. But we have to be willing to learn.
Right. And you got to be willing to adapt to that, right? That's human nature.
Yeah.
We evolve and we have to adapt and evolve faster than ever with all the technology and the industry that's happened even in the last 200 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
History lessons. That could be another episode. All right, guys, I'm signing off with my cute sign off. I'm going to say see you next Tuesday. But reach out if you need anything, guys. You are amazing. Oops. And end the stream.